across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hello there, good to have your company. It is Petrie here with you through until 1 o'clock, and of course at midnight it is your chance to talk back. It is a full hour of just your voices, well, a bit of mine as well, but it is just your opinions, your stories and your views. And I want to hear from you at midnight about the budget. I watched the really weird speech that Rachel Reeves gave today, so you don't have to. But what was interesting, there was a line in there about us all having to do our part. In fact, let's hear her say it. So I've got a clip here of Rachel Reeves, just in case you missed it, and this is what she had to say.
If we are to build the future of Britain together, we will all have to contribute to that effort. Each of us must do our bit for the security of our country and the brightness of its future.
Not very coded words, potentially meaning that we are all going to have to pay. So what does that mean? Does that mean a tax hike? Now, at midnight, what I want to talk to you about is exactly that. Will you forgive Labour if, because this is what people are speculating that this speech was all about. It was about preparing the way to make us aware that the likelihood is that we are going to have to pay more income tax. It'll be, if she raises income tax, it'll be the first time that has been done in 50 years, 5 decades. Will you forgive her if she does that? Will you forgive Labour? Will you feel that you're doing your bit to help the country? I mean, I happen to think that we pay enough tax. I genuinely do. We pay a lot of tax for what we get back because of the wastage that we see every time. And all I have to talk about is HS2. I mean, that's just one example, right? When we see these disgusting amounts of money that are just thrown away because, you know, it doesn't really matter because it's not their money, it's our money. So are you prepared to do your bit? Are you prepared to pay a little bit more, maybe a penny, maybe 2 pennies in the pound in taxation? Are you prepared to do that, to give Rachel Reeves her win? And what would a rise like that mean for you? I suppose it's hard to calculate at this moment, but she's unlikely to move the point at which you start paying tax as well. And what about the idea that £46,000 equals you being wealthy, that 46 grand a year is wealthy? So it just seems to me that no government has any new ideas. It's always just tax, isn't it? It's just tax. Let's just go back to the people and tax them, either with direct taxes on their wages or in these sneaky taxes on fuel or when you spend, when you borrow, when you sell, when you buy, all of those taxes. And don't forget fuel tax as well. So I want to know from you if you think, no, this is reasonable. I'm happy to do my bit. Will you forgive her if she puts, as she said 7 times emphatically, she will not raise the big 3, that is income tax, national insurance and VAT. It seems unlikely now that we're going to get away with, well, maybe even all 3 of them, let alone maybe one of them. So give me a call, 0344 499 1000. You can also text the word talk and then your message to 87222. Or to get more on this information, let's talk to William Yarwood now, Media Campaign Manager at Taxpayers Alliance. William, thank you so much for joining me. There's never seems to be a new idea. Let's just go back and pick the pockets of the working people of this country.
Indeed. Well, good evening, Petrie. Thank you so much for having me on the show this evening. And yeah, I think that's because Rachel Reeves and this Labour government, much like the last Conservative government in many ways, like you said, doesn't have anything original to point out. I mean, you opened the show by saying it was a bit of an odd speech, I think is the word you would use, but also it was odd, but it was also drastically boring and quite dreary. And one thing I noticed from Reeves was a complete inability to take any personal responsibility for any of the things that she's done as Chancellor. I mean, she blamed Brexit, she blamed the last 14 years of Tory government, she blamed the Liz Truss budget. She was this close to blaming the weather, Petrie, for crying out loud. But nevertheless, she is refusing to actually look in the mirror and recognise that the taxes that she's hiked on small businesses and medium enterprises, the taxes she's hiked on farmers, have actually caused extreme damage to growth in this country in the hospitality sector. And when it comes to farms, various farmers are, considering just selling up completely and not providing the food that we need. I mean, if you want to generate growth and productivity, you shouldn't be taxing the very people who produce productivity and growth in this country. So I think that she hasn't got any ideas because, like you said previously, all she wants to do is raise taxes. And you think she'd have learnt from last time, but she clearly hasn't, and she's going to come after income tax now.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems that when you hear those words, and when you've been around as long as I have, there's always a meaning to them. We're all going to have to do our bit. That is laying the groundwork for. In fact, this whole bizarre speech was all about saying, look, we've been hinting this, you haven't heard, so we're going to come out and say it now. You're all going to have to pay. The thing is, though, that we all feel like we pay enough. We're taxed the most we've ever been, and we seem to get less and less for that money. The contract has broken between us. If I continually give you money and you set fire to it, I'm going to want to stop giving you money.
No, that's 100% correct. I couldn't agree with you more. We at the Taxpayers Alliance actually just this week released a paper called Lifetime Tax 2025, where we reveal how much the average household pays in taxes over their lifetime. And actually, the average household over their lifetime, Petrie, pays about £1.3 million in taxes. That's including income tax, VAT, the little taxes, things like fuel duty and the works. And actually about almost £600,000 of that over their lifetime is income tax. And like you rightly said, we have the highest tax burden since the Second World War. And what are we getting for it? And I think also when Rachel Reeves said in her speech earlier whether we all have to contribute more, we all have to do our bit, well, she seems to be imposing fiscal restraints and responsibility on the British taxpayer that she is not putting on herself or the government. The government has been recklessly borrowing money at eye-watering levels. I mean, in September, the ONS calculated that they'd borrowed £20.2 billion alone in September, which is the highest September over the last 5 years. So that's the highest we've had since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. And yeah, I think that Reeves basically thinks that she can just basically tap up taxpayers for more without actually presenting any clear reforms of public services, any clear reforms in regards to welfare. I mean, actually, I'm going to counter myself on that one. They tried to do welfare reform, Petrie, and they failed miserably at it because this Labour government and Labour backbenchers are not interested in actually reforming any element of the state and actually are more interested, like you said, in just doing the old-fashioned thing of just hiking taxes again and again and hoping for different results. And I think there's a word for that about doing things again and again and expecting different results. I think it's called insanity, isn't it, Petrie?
I mean, yeah, it genuinely is, but it's starting to, at what point, William, do they stop just coming for more and more money? Because, like I keep saying, there's no new ideas. Let's just go and get more money from the public. And when you have such a vast number of people who are on welfare benefits and those who need them, everybody feels that they should have them. But there's an enormous exploding welfare bill, and millions more people every week are joining that list of people. So you're starting to tip the balance of how many people are working to pay for everything, and those that aren't working, or I don't know when they're going to stop. this is the thing that concerns me, is every year that I've been alive, there's always been something else that we've got to pay more for, something else that we've got to, they invent new ways to take money off us.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, just to quickly talk about the benefits bill, I think that is generally one of the biggest crises we have, not just in our public finances, but in almost like the soul of our nation, in the sense that we have endless levels of young people my age, people who are 25, 26, who have just essentially given up, completely given up. They might have mild anxiety, they might be a bit depressed, and because of that, they've gone to see their GP, they've been signed off for long-term sick, and they're essentially just rotting at home, living at the taxpayer's expense, all the while people next door are getting up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and going to work and paying their taxes and doing the right thing. And you're right, you're wondering when basically people are going to snap and say, I've had enough of this, I can't take this anymore. And perhaps you're seeing some of that translated into the way reforms are doing well in the polls at the moment, but also I think you could see some of it translated into how well the Greens are doing as well, because some people basically think that the problem isn't that, we have a larger welfare state than ever before, the administrative state's out of control, debt's out of control. The problem is that the rich aren't paying their way and they need to be taxed even more in order to, pay for all the free things we like. But even if we take their estimates of about £25 billion for a wealth tax seriously, it's not going to raise the money we need. No. I mean, it's not going to fill Rachel Reeves' so-called £30 billion black hole. Never mind the fact that wealth taxes are completely unworkable and the rich will just leave the country anyway, meaning you'll have diminishing returns. But I think the fundamental point I think we need to drill in here. You mentioned earlier about the social contract between the taxpayer and the state, where you feel like you pay lots of money in and you're getting very little out. I think that view is becoming far more present in people's minds than it ever has been before, because they can see the size and the scope of the state and how it's dramatically increased over the last 30 to 40 years, and yet they see potholes on their roads, they see their bins not being collected, they see their transport infrastructure deteriorating, they see their NHS deteriorating, like a litany of things that just don't seem to work in the same way they did, and yet you're paying more taxes than you ever have been. So the calculation doesn't quite make sense for them. And I think the depressing reality is, and this is one part of that Reeves did get right in his speech, is that our national debt is £2.7 trillion and the debt interest on that bill is over £100 billion a year. So money is just being sucked up, Petrie, to pay for the interest on our ballooning debt bill, because various governments, both Tory and Labour, have borrowed beyond their means, essentially to some extent bribe the electorate to say, oh, we'll give you free shiny things, or we'll put money in this and money in that, without ever recognising how they're actually going to pay for any of it. So I think this is a multi-decade long issue. I know that sounds very depressing for this time of the evening, but I may as well go with it. And I think that there is going to has to be real harsh and almost probably quite uncomfortable discussions about how to get out of this doom loop, because we cannot simply keep taxing and then borrowing more, and then basically using that borrowing to pay off debt interest. And then when there's no growth happening, oh, we've got more holes in the public finances, so we need to tax more, and the circle goes round and round and round. We simply cannot go on like this. And to be honest with you, Petrie, to be even more cynical, I actually don't see much of this from this Labour government. I also don't see much of it from most of the political parties on the field at the moment either.
No, but what is the solution, though? Because the government doesn't have its own money, it doesn't make its own money, it just takes our money and apparently spends it wisely or not. So, what is the solution? Because, like I said, every government ever just goes, oh, we need a bit more money, let's tax more. And it's not just income tax that'll be going up. We know that. If income tax does go up, we know also council tax will be going up. We know also that road tax will go up by a couple of quid here and a couple of quid there, or whatever it's called now, vehicle excise duty. We know that there'll be, we are at the stage now where through various forms of taxations and things that we have to pay for, they're taking more money than we're keeping already. So where does this go? How do they solve that?
First of all, you're completely correct that they're not just going to touch income tax. I think Rachel Reeves has been reading a Resolution Foundation report that was out a few weeks ago, which is not too surprising considering one of her own Treasury ministers used to be the guy in charge of the Resolution Foundation. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Basically, they have advocated a lot of little taxes on things such as fuel duty, changing sugar levies, things to do with alcohol duty. Little things that you might not think matter, but they do for the average person who wants to buy a pint at the pub or wants to, buy some sweets or whatever that might be, or just people who use their car on a day-to-day basis to get around. Remember, fuel duty hits, small business owners probably the most because especially if they're reliant on a vehicle to get around. But how do we get out of this situation? I'm from the Taxpayers Alliance, and naturally I'm going to say that I think we need to look at spending very clearly. And I'm not just talking about things like government waste. Like you mentioned HS2 earlier this evening. I would just get rid of that in its entirety, basically, and then root out all the little bits that we're still spending on it to the extent that basically HS2 no longer becomes even a ticket item in the government's checkbook at the moment. I would also look at things like foreign aid. I would look at things at the cost of our illegal migrant hotel bill every single year. I mean, that the National Audit Office said that's now going to cost taxpayers upwards of £15 billion. I mean, try explaining to somebody that you have to pay more taxes because the illegal migrant hotel bill has tripled just in the last few years. Imagine trying to explain that to a small business owner or a single mum. Also, try explaining how on earth we're funding £52 million roads in Africa, which absolutely go nowhere. A recent Telegraph investigation revealed that also we're spending money on rusty solar panels in Zimbabwe. And as we as the Taxpayers Allowance found, also spending money on on promoting contraceptives in Pakistan. Again, you go and explain to the average hardworking ordinary taxpayer that you need to cough up more money because the government is unable or unwilling to get rid of these projects. But even then, even if we got rid of all that kind of stuff, all the people would probably call it low status stuff, but I really don't think it is. I don't really think it is. You get rid of all of that, and then basically you can begin to have a conversation about big ticket items, about the pension system, about welfare reform, about just the size and cost of government itself. I mean, our civil service has dramatically increased since 2016. I think there could be some savings made there. I think that spending is the main issue here, but Labour doesn't want to address spending because they think ultimately government spending is a moral good. They think, like you said earlier, it's not taxpayers' money, it's basically government money, and they can just, get it out of thin air via money printing and borrowing more money from God knows who. And they are also, as we saw with the welfare bill climb down, they are unwilling to even just cut £5 billion from our overall £300 billion welfare bill. Like, that should signal to absolutely everybody that if Labour can't even cut £5 billion of our £300 billion welfare bill, then they're not going to reform the welfare state or any of our other spending commitments at all. So yeah, that would be my view, Petrie, but that's not a particularly in vogue view in this government or even or maybe across the general public, because obviously I'll just get accused of wanting austerity 2.0 when actually what I want is a little bit more nuanced than just what people might accuse me of having.
I think most of us want that, William, to be perfectly honest with you. It's good to speak to you. Let's talk again. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much indeed. William Yarwood there, Media Campaign Manager at Taxpayers Alliance. Now, to find out how people are going to cope with this level of taxation that is heading our way, without any doubt, whether it be income tax or whether it's just applied to all those little taxes that we were just talking about. I'm joined now by Helen Bernard, who is Director of Policy, Research and Impact at the Trussell Trust, and that's the anti-poverty charity in the community of food banks that you will have heard us talking about from time to time. Helen, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. There will be a lot of people who are thinking, I'm already broke, anything else. And she said all of us, everyone. So she's not just targeting the rich or who Labour think are rich. It will be all of us having to do our bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. What we see across the UK is that there are many more people than there used to be who are facing real hunger, who are facing severe hardship. So last year we provided about 3 million emergency food parcels. And in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen a really sharp increase in the numbers of people facing hunger. So people whose incomes are so low, they can't afford to eat properly, to pay the bills. And of course, that creates additional costs, because living in that kind of hardship, it really damages your health. It increases pressure on public services. It actually makes people less able to work, because their health is going downhill, because even simple things like your hospital appointment finally comes through, but you can't afford the bus fare to get there, or you're looking for jobs, you're trying to apply for things, but you can't afford to top up your phone, so you're missing those opportunities as they come up locally. So all of these things are appalling for individuals and communities. They also actually pile costs onto the government, onto the state. And when we kind of delved into it, say, well, what is happening? Why are we seeing this number of people facing hardship? And it's a couple of things. The biggest thing is actually that the social security system, things like universal credit, are failing to protect people from even quite, severe hardship and hunger, because the levels are set so low, they don't even cover a kind of basic basket of goods, of essentials that we all need. So what we're hoping the Chancellor will do is, she has a lot of big questions to answer, but one of those has to be, what will this budget do to protect people at the very sharpest end of this from that kind of hunger and hardship? And that is particularly families with children, disabled people, carers.
Well, she's talking about removing the cap, isn't she, on the two-child benefit system, which will pull quite a few children out of poverty. But there will be people listening, Helen, who are like, well, there's no such thing as real poverty in this country. People are going to food banks because they want to spend their money, their benefits on other things, maybe luxuries. So they're going to food banks to sort of supplement their income. It's certainly an argument that I've heard a lot.
So when I think about the food banks that we support across the country, so people are referred to food banks. So what you find is that, say, a GP or a social worker or an advice worker, somebody has come to them, they have talked to them about their situation and have realised that actually they don't have enough money for essentials. So our research found that on average, people referred to our food banks have about £104 a week to get by on after housing costs. And that's for everything. That's food, that's bills, that's travel to work, that's everything. That is about 17% of the average family's income. And when your income is that low, now people are amazing at making the money stretch because they have to be. When your income is that low, you simply can't afford those essentials. And, you can see it in the stories, when you have a family at home who can't afford to put the heating on and can't afford to replace mouldy bedding, so they're piling up coats on the bed to try and make sure the kids get a decent night's sleep and they're warm enough. When we have people who come to us having not eaten for a couple of days and having kind of gone without lots of essentials for often quite a long time, and they are finally driven to turn to a local charity, to a food bank, we see people in really quite desperate situations. And actually, I don't think any of us out there want that to be how people in our country have to live. That's not what we want our neighbours, our friends, our communities to be facing.
But it's unlikely, though, isn't it, that there will be any increase in benefits, because that would be an extremely unpopular move, given what we've just heard there from Taxpayers Alliance, a £300 billion yearly bill. Even that's not sustainable. So it's unlikely there would be any increases in benefits, but it is likely that there will be increases in costs.
I think I think that they are quite seriously looking at what they can do about hardship. We would say their first priority should be, as you were saying, lifting that two-child cap, which basically punishes kids for having sisters and brothers, and actually is the single biggest factor that is pulling families into hardship, driving families to the doors of food banks. And we did some work with the economists at WPI Economics to understand what is the cost to the country of hardship, but also, if you take these policies, how do they weigh up in terms of what they might save and what they cost? And lifting the two-child limit actually would create benefits to the UK finances, to the government, to taxation, to reduce public spending costs of just over 3 billion. So it's one of these things which it would take money to lift it, absolutely, but you would also see savings because you would be pulling so hundreds of thousands of families out of that severe poverty, which is hitting their health, is hitting their children's education. You know, we all want kids to go to school, to thrive, to get good qualifications, to get good jobs. If you start off your life with a family who is forced to turn to a food bank, we're not giving those kids a kind of decent shot at a good life that all of us want to see. You know, we are going to see another generation of children who grow up thinking it's somehow normal that you have to turn to a food bank. And that's not right. That's not the country we want to live in. And I think we're better than that.
Oh, we're certainly apparently richer than that, although we're always being told we're poor. Helen, it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Helen Bernard there, Director of Policy Research and Impact at the Trussell Trust. Quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you through until 1 o'clock, and of course coming up at midnight it is your chance to talk back, and we are talking about that speech by Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, and whether you think it is right that she comes back to us for more money. I mean, she said last budget was the last big budget, and now she's saying, well, things have changed, which I predicted she'd say, I think, a day after the last budget. And she needs to prepare us now for what could be the first tax rise in 5 decades. Well, with me to discuss that is Stella Chadakido. It's good to see you. What did you make of that speech? I've been desperate to ask you, but I thought if I asked you out there, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. What did you think of her speech?
It was a very difficult speech for her, but I'm really glad she's doing this, because one of the criticisms that people have had about Keir Starmer's leadership in the last year is that they keep on making these changes, but they don't explain to the party and to the country why it is that they're making those changes. It feels like there is no strategy, no grander narrative. So I think that they are taking at least the message that, look, when you're going to be making something like breaking a promise, breaking a manifesto promise, you need to start explaining this to people way in advance. You can't just drop a bomb like they did with the winter fuel allowance, or, for example, like with Brexit, that started entering their economic narrative just a few weeks ago.
So, I mean, it is clear to everybody, isn't it, that she's trying to prepare us for income tax rises. She has been emphatic that these are her rules. She will not increase VAT, she will not increase national insurance for workers, and she will not increase income tax. This is more than just going back on a manifesto promise, isn't it? She said this 7 times publicly. This just makes her look like a liar.
Yes, it was a very bad decision, and I'm glad that she's taking one for the team now and breaking that promise, because it was the wrong decision and she needs to take responsibility for it. I don't agree with people who are calling for her to resign if she raises income tax. I don't see how that would benefit the country, and I'm literally talking about the country at this point, let alone the party. I think that she's going to be extremely unpopular, as will Keir Starmer, but we all know this needs to happen. And I would rather see them do it earlier, sooner rather than later, because the problem with changes like that is you cannot just let a bad situation deteriorate when it comes to the government finances. There is absolutely the most minimal fiscal headroom. So I would rather see her go big right now rather than having to go over and over this in the next 3 years. And
but the only reason they're going to go big on this now is purely for political gain. It's about saying, well, we don't have an election for a few years, so by the time we get there, everybody would have settled down. Because you know that the damage that this will cause the Labour government and the Labour Party. I mean, already they've been punching themselves in the face from day one, with what you were saying, with not explaining things, suddenly dropping things, suddenly changing, suddenly U-turning, being weak on communication. This will... Everyone will say, see, we can't trust a single word a single politician ever says to us, because they go back on it the minute they can. They're hoping, if they do it early enough, that the voting public will forget in time for the next election.
I think they have already been quite late, if I'm honest. And I say go big because I don't think that simply breaking the manifesto promise is going big. We are talking about a 2p increase on income tax. That's what is being briefed.
Yes, but also there'll be other taxes, and they won't be moving those points at which, you know, the points at which you pay tax. That's another income tax. I don't care what anybody does. That is a sneaky income tax. So that every time you get a pay rise, you're into another tax bracket. So we know that that has been a cheat's way of raising taxation. We know that. So that's raising taxes. Income tax will raise. They will put more tax on absolutely everything else. So even if you're not earning, you are paying more at the supermarket, or you're paying more for your fuel, or you're paying more for, you know, all of these other things. If it was just as simple as just 2p on income tax, maybe we'd all go, okay, at least we know where we are. But we know that isn't going to be the case.
I wish they would do that. I don't know that they will, especially on VAT, because the problem is with government finances, the best way to raise any money for the Treasury is through taxation, broad taxation, VAT on all goods, the kinds of stuff that everybody's buying. And a lot of people will say, but wait a minute, if you increase VAT, then you are making poor people poorer as well. But it's not exactly how it works, because if you raise VAT for everyone, it is usually the wealthier people who spend the most money. So you will be able to have more money to spend on those who need it the most. And I do understand, like, the cost of living crisis is terrible. I'm not even saying about the top 1%. I'm not here to speak ill of rich people. Nobody should need to pay more. But we are in the situation we are in. And the best way to make it so that no one particular group feels the pain the most is with something like broad taxation and VAT. I think they're going to go for VAT. I do not know exactly what changes they're going to do. Income tax. I do hope that they will. They said that they may increase 2p on income tax and offset that by decreasing national insurance.
Yeah, that was the ABR
I think that would be.
Wasn't it?
I think that is a very good recommendation. I really hope they go for that, because that will mean that the burden will fall more on the self-employed and the retirees and some professions who can potentially pull their weight more. And it will mean that more smaller businesses will be able to hire more people, and especially on sectors like social care, for example. I think that is one place where national insurance increases have been quite damaging.
Yeah, there's more in the paper, so I'll come back to you and ask you the supplementary questions for that, but I just want to take a very quick break, Stella. We'll be back in just a moment.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hello there, you're with Talk and you're with Petrie, and with me is Stella Chadakido, former Labour aide, and we're going through the papers now. Now, the Sun newspaper, picture of the Beckhams, Sir and Lady Beckham now, because David Beckham, the football player, has been knighted, and he said, "I spent months crying." So impressed he is with being knighted by the King.
Well, congratulations to him. He deserves it. And how lovely to see them. They both look gorgeous.
She made the suit, apparently.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, her people probably
Yeah.
did. But
So her brand, her designer brand.
Yeah, her brand made the suit. And he styled it, I was reading earlier on one of Prince Charles's old morning suits.
Oh.
So there you go. It's so interesting because I didn't really care about the Beckhams, and I don't particularly, but I watched the documentary on Victoria Beckham, and she really came across. I was like, okay, yeah, you're all right. She's a good woman, so that was nice, and congratulations to them. The Times also covering that picture, and her dress is also made by her, apparently. But there you go, and they look lovely. And the other stories: Reeves lays ground for a 1970s style tax increase. What do they mean by that?
Oh, they're referring to the fact that the last time we raised the basic rate of income tax was under Dennis Healey in 1975. And I think that would be a very good thing, because if you increase all rates of income tax by just 1%, and that would include the basic rate of income tax, you could be getting about £11 billion extra by 2029, 2030.
It doesn't sound like very much when you've got a black hole of about 30 billion.
You have a black hole of probably 15 to 40 billion, and yeah, if we are being we're being honest, it's probably on the higher end. No, but it is a start, and I do agree with your message, which is that we all need to share the burden. That's the only way to do it.
But we've all been this is the point, Stella, is we've all been sharing the burden for a very long time. We have never paid as much in tax as we do now. I mean, come on. What is going on? That it's just, there's no new ideas. It's just, let's go back to the public and get more money out of them. There will come a point where we just go, well, what are we getting back?
And for middle earners, taxes are lower now than they have been at any point since the 1970s.
What do you call a middle earner?
So anybody who's not paying below 40%.
Right. So below 40%. So
below 45% probably, actually. Below anybody who's not in the top bracket.
But that's still, I mean, let's just hear ourselves talk about the fact that somebody from a pound has got to give 45% of that to...
It sounds a lot, absolutely.
It is a lot. It is a lot. I mean, this is the thing, we talk about these things like they're nothing. It's like 45 pence in a pound goes to this.
What do you give up?
But listen, I don't know. But the point is, there's got to be newer ideas. Then let's just make it 55 pence in the pound. Let's make it 60 pence in the pound. You know, it is. We're already giving a lot away. I think government should be smaller. I'm in total agreement with the Taxpayers Alliance. I think that there's a hell of a lot of waste with projects like HS2, or even that stupid app, £35 billion on an app, for goodness sake, during COVID. You know, there's so much waste that there's got to be better ideas than just let's ask them for more money, and then we can spend that money and borrow more money and then ask them again next time.
The point of spending more money is that if you're investing, and if we had been investing when interest rates were at 0%, which we should have been doing during the austerity years under Osborne, then we would be having a much better economy right now. We wouldn't be having the problems, the crumbling infrastructure that we're having right now, which means that we cannot have the growth that we want. There are other things that I want to see, for example, with tax inheritance. I think it's insane that you have people literally not paying billions of pounds in inheritance tax. just because they find loopholes to get away with it. The very, very richest in our society pay less as a percentage of their wealth in tax than what we were talking about previously.
That's the government's fault. They've made the tax system so complicated. When I talk to my accountant, and he says, oh, you know, it used to be that, you know, an inch thick, and now it's 10 inches thick. And what you do is when you add layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, is it creates loopholes. That is entirely the fault of the government, who are, all governments, who are not keen to close those loopholes because they blooming well use them themselves. And we've seen it and we know it and they're all at it. So then there's no incentive for them, the rich, to want those loopholes closed, but people like me and those who are listening don't get to use those loopholes.
I agree. I think VAT is the best example of where you will literally have different types of biscuit being taxed at different levels.
Yeah.
And you will have McVitie's going to court to prove that a Jaffa cake is in fact a cake rather than a biscuit. And then you have an oat flapjack versus a muesli bar being considered different types of food. I would personally, as I said, I would have the same VAT on everything. I wouldn't have even essential items. And I almost feel shameful for saying that now, because I remember like a decade ago, I think, when it was, do you remember the tampon tax?
Yeah.
And it was such a feminist issue to say, why are we charging? There shouldn't be a tampon tax. This is a disgrace. The government is charging us for periods. And obviously, as a feminist, I was absolutely unacceptable. Why is there a VAT on tampons? And now I'm thinking, no, tax on everything. Put VAT tax on everything. No loopholes.
You're talking about a 20% increase in everybody's shopping.
Put it at 10% for everything. If you put a VAT on everything, then you can decrease it to 10%.
But even the essentials.
Yes, even on toothpaste, even on kids' food, and you know what? That is a much better way to do it. It is a much better to do it.
But then you're
way.
increasing everybody's shopping, let's say, by 10%. People are already paying an absolute fortune for their shopping. The prices are not coming down. The costs are going up, and then you're just saying, right, a blanket 10% rise on everything, but not a 10% rise on wages.
Have you ever been to Switzerland?
Yes, I have. I've holidayed
It's so
there.
clean. Everything is working. Very boring. I agree. I would never live there. But everything is clean. Nobody is complaining when they go to Switzerland that things are expensive. They realize what they're paying for. Things are expensive.
But they're getting.
They're getting the thing. Yeah, they're getting the thing.
They're getting it. Yeah. The wages are very high. They are getting what they pay for. Stella, the problem is that everyone says, oh yes, but if you want more stuff, you're going to have to pay more money. I don't trust these governments. If we pay more money, we get less stuff. So it doesn't work. If it was like Switzerland, fine, have 90% of every pound that I earn, but give me back what I need from that money. And that's not what this country does, and it doesn't do it very well.
Well, my explanation for why that's happening is because of the austerity years, because it is the austerity years that meant that we let literally everything crumble.
Yeah, well, I think the excuse is as well that governments don't know how to spend other people's money very well. That's what I think. A top lawyer blew expenses on private jet and yacht parties. One of Britain's most prominent lawyers has been ousted from his firm amid allegations of expenses misuse. Yeah, there we go. There's the very rich again doing their...
This is one of the ways, that people get away with... when people are saying the way that they get away with not paying tax on things or not appropriately, they will literally charge things as business expenses when they are their own personal holidays and parties and things like that.
Yeah, or they borrow money against stocks and shares and then they never have to pay tax on it. That's what Elon Musk does. It should be illegal.
It should be illegal, and it's it really destabilizes the economy. It is very, very bad.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, is that there are loopholes there that have been designed by rich people for rich people, and they won't. And no government that I've ever heard has ever said, look, let's have a look at the tax system and simplify it back to 4 pages and make sure that there aren't any loopholes, so that if you do earn that money, you pay that tax. It doesn't seem to be rocket science, but nobody wants to do it. Reeves poised to raise income tax and break a 50-year taboo. Then the Metro, Brave Sam's always been our hero. This is a gravely injured rail worker, has been praised for saving passengers' lives by tackling a knifeman on his train. and they're calling him a hero, and he probably deserves to be as well.
Yeah, Samir Zitouni is his name?
Yeah, it looks like
48-year-old. Yeah, 11 people were hurt. Horrifying, absolutely horrifying. I was watching the video. Absolutely
terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying. Let's have a look at the Daily Telegraph. Heads should roll over BBC bias. I don't know how Mr. Davey has survived so many crises. Tim Davey, the head of the BBC, he is Teflon. I mean, how does he get away with it?
I agree, and I think the doctoring of the Trump video, that was bad. But then, whenever people say that about the BBC, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, but go show me for any other. Any kind of communication by a human being or by an AI built by a human being will be biased. That is a fact.
Yeah.
Show me any other channel and prove to me that they are not more biased than the BBC, and then I will say, okay, fine.
Yeah, everybody's biased in one direction or the other, aren't they?
Yeah.
They tend to be media outlets. I completely agree with that. But Tim Davey just keeps escaping these crises, and I just don't know how he does it. He's got to write a book about it. Right, let's move on. The FT, Dick Cheney, former vice president who championed US intervention, dies at 84 years old. I don't think he was incredibly popular, was he?
Well, among some hardcore conservatives, he probably was.
Really
there are probably
hardcore.
some hardcore conservatives who miss his style of international strongman.
Except that he regrets the Afghan war, didn't he? He said, I regret that. I made a mistake. I didn't get all my ducks in a row before we went marching into that. So at least he had the grace to admit a mistake. Compulsory financial literacy classes, part of England curriculum. I think that is so overdue. No, because maths and I were not friends. I hated maths. I couldn't understand it. I didn't get it. I didn't see the point of a log table. I didn't understand why I would ever need any of that nonsense. But if they'd said to me, right, this is about what happens with a mortgage, or this is what APR means, this is what happens when you get a credit card, that would have been useful. So this is good news.
Yes, I'm so in favour of getting students to think about how businesses work, how the economy works as soon as possible. University is great. I studied law. I loved, I think literature is great, the arts amazing, all of these things. I don't think that they are useless. I do think they need to be somewhere in there. Children should be allowed to spend time with them. But the sooner people start thinking about these sort of things, the better, because it takes time to get your mind around it, to understand what it means to do your taxes, to run a household, to run a business.
Yeah, it really does. And just like you said, just paying the bills or making sure that things balance, or like I said, just understanding what APR is, what happens when you pay for things on the lease credit or whatever it's called. All of those things that you come across as an adult very quickly, and you haven't got a clue. No clue how to handle it.
And they make you a better voter as well.
Yeah, yes, because they'll know exactly what Rachel Reeves is about to do to them. The Independent also is talking about Reeves puts Britain on notice of budget income tax rises, and Badenoch calls the speech a waffle bomb, which I thought I haven't heard the term waffle bomb before. I quite like it.
Yes, she's trying everything she can to make herself look like the media star that she was promised to be to the Conservative Party when she was elected, but I'm not sure she's doing very well. I was really shocked when she missed that opportunity with, the scandal last week about Rachel Reeves and renting her family home and not having a landlord license. And rather than using this opportunity, Kemi Badenoch, using this as an opportunity to say, oh, look at the Labour Party falling over its own red tape. This is why we need to cut red tape, because even the Chancellor herself cannot blah, blah. she used to say, oh, the chancellor is responsible for not knowing that she needed a landlord license, blah, 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 blah. Completely the wrong kind of framing, a completely missed opportunity. And once again, this should be bread and butter Conservative Party. The Labour chancellor is about to increase taxes. Kemi Badenoch should be everywhere. And where is she?
I agree. I absolutely agree. And not just. I mean, I love the term waffle bomb, but you're right. It should be more serious than that. And it just maybe she will at PMQs. It's not Keir though, is it? It's Lammy, I think, this week at PMQs because Keir's away again.
He's away a bit too much for my liking. I would like him to stay here now. He's done his bit with his international presence. I need him to stay here now. I know our issues are boring, but...
Just do the work.
Yeah.
That's what you get paid for. By taxpayers who are going to have to pay more for everything. The Daily Mail goes with a different story about education. Says here that Labour is dumbing down schools. Ministers were last night accused of educational vandalism after tearing up the school curriculum. In proposals to be announced today, Labour will ditch a number of Tory reforms that tackled Tony Blair's dumbing down of teaching and attempting to raise standards. The changes, which we met with glee, blah, 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 will cut GCSE exams, simplify primary school tests and scrap a drive against Mickey Mouse subjects.
I love that because I love how the different headlines in different papers, you know. Daily Mail, dumb down schools. Financial Times, actually it's about financial literacy classes.
Yeah.
And they say like, they're going to be teaching them about climate change. And what this probably is an understanding that the green economy is something very big. There are loads of jobs in the green economy being created. There are loads of green skills that are needed in the country. And this is probably a recognition of that, so it's probably not a very bad idea.
I've just been told there's no PMQs. I'm sure I read that Lammy was standing in for Keir. No PMQs this week because the House of Commons is in a scheduled November recess.
Oh, yes,
Another
of
one.
course, recess, yes.
Another one. They just got back. Are any of them working? I've had 2 days off this year. Right, let's have a look at The Guardian. The NHS bearing the brunt of ugly racism, warns Streeting. I mean, anybody that goes into a hospital to seek help and then attacks the person who's helping them for whatever reason is a scumbag. The end of.
Absolutely. Like I'm sorry, you're there on the queue. You see that there are other people around you. They're also waiting for the queue. You see the staff. They're completely overwhelmed. They're trying their best. They do.
Yeah.
And then you are harassing them. You're being aggressive against them. And some of them are even violent when there is a delay.
Yeah.
You're getting this healthcare for free.
I know. Well, not free. We do pay for it.
Yeah, you pay taxes. Yeah.
Incidents of verbal and physical abuse based on people's skin colour happen so often that it has become socially acceptable to be racist. And I agree with that. There's something very odd going on where people are now saying the quiet stuff out loud. They feel empowered to be racist. They feel like it's absolutely fine to say whatever they want about people of colour, and it is literally disgusting. But where is this coming from? Why are so many people going, I can say it now, I can speak my freedom of speech, I can speak my mind.
Twitter.
But it doesn't stop you from being a decent human being.
It's coming from Twitter. Since Elon Musk bought Twitter and he made it into X, because people are using racist language, you know, it started as a funny way. It always starts as a joke. And then you have your joke, blah, 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 okay. And then eventually the joke becomes reality. People start using it in real life, especially I think a lot of people who either cannot grasp the nuance or younger people, they will translate the language that they will see online in jokes.
But even if you see it online, you don't have to believe it or even repeat it. So what's going on where people genuinely feel that they are racist, that they do hate people of colour? I've never understood that.
I'm also bewildered by the fact that all of this has happened in such a short amount of time. We had this massive U-turn.
Yeah. Honestly, Stella, it troubles me. My friends will tell you I'm just so confused by what's going on in society at the moment. Because I'm like, well, who cares? I mean, we're all the same. We're just people. Everybody's just trying to live a life.
I have a black friend, and he was telling me that I have a black friend. I have many black friends, but one of them was telling me how it's the first time in his life in London that he feels like people will not sit next to him on the tube.
You see that's never.
And he's not the type of person who complains, about flippant issues.
I find that absolutely heartbreaking. I really do, Stella. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you soon. That's Stella Chadakido, former Labour aide.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Good morning. It's bonfire night. It is the 5th of November. My new puppy hates fireworks so much. The older dog, Bailey, he's fine, but Humphrey is like just barking at the moon or barking at the fireworks when I left him this evening. Anyway, look, what's being set fire to is our budgets. Not fireworks. It won't be fireworks on the 26th of November, not for us, not for you and me, not for us common folk, because Rachel Reeves spoke and said very little, but did say we're all going to have to contribute to the economy, like we've never contributed before, like we're not the most heavily taxed we have ever been in this country, like we're not already paying through the nose for absolutely everything. I am so fed up with it because every time a politician speaks, there's another tax rise. There's nothing new. They can't come up with any new ideas. They cannot be, they can't think of anything. We've got a problem. Let's go back to the people and ask them and demand more money. And then you've got, speaking to Stella there, who has a very different view on taxation that I have. And she's saying 45p, 45%. Just think about that for a minute. Every pound that you earn over a certain level, nearly half of it isn't yours. It's taken off you, and people just go, oh well, that's just what happens. But why are we in this position where tax upon tax upon tax upon tax, and we know it won't only be income tax. If she puts up income tax, this will be not only against her manifesto pledge. She has said over and over and over again that she will not raise income tax, VAT, or national insurance. Emphatically, no question. That was never on the table, never. She was never going to do that. And then we got into that pickle, didn't we, in the last budget over what a working person was. And they were going, oh, well, a working person is... and I thought, well, that's somebody who works, isn't it? I mean, it's actually not that difficult. But no, a working person had to fit certain criteria so that they could tax other people. And now they're going after freelancers because they think somehow they're not really working people. Everybody I know is pretty much a freelancer, and I can't tell you how hard they work. They never have holidays. They never have sick days. Because they're freelance, and every time they don't work, they don't get paid. So, there's no burden to the company on a freelancer. All of those things, they have a role to play. And the reason they pay less in national insurance is because they don't get sick pay, right? That is it. They're not paying for something that they're not getting. So it's not that complicated, right? You look at a freelancer and you say, right, well, they don't get holiday, they don't get a pension, they don't get sick pay, so why should they pay as much as people who do? So what's the point in being freelance, except that companies need freelancers? So they're going to squash the freelance market now. They don't care. They don't care about people like that. They don't care about you. Everybody, she said, all of us will have to do our bit. So it's not the rich that she's going after, because they haven't got the cojones to go after the very rich. And as I was saying to Stella, just fix the tax laws. It's not, I don't understand why I can see quite clearly, and I am an idiot, why I can see quite clearly what the problems are. And yet government after government after government seem to be absolutely oblivious to it. The tax system in this country is so complicated, so ridiculous, and so multi-layered that it creates massive loopholes that only the rich know how to get through. But they do. And they get through it time and time again. You've got Elon Musk, just as an example, and I know his money is in America, but it's the same here. If you have an enormous shares portfolio, all right, and you don't want to pay tax on your income or on your earnings, you borrow against your shares. So you've got a £400 million worth of shares, and so you borrow 200 million against your shares. You get to spend that money tax free. So rich people don't ever pay income tax. They pour all their money into shares where they get tax relief from, and then they take money out in the form of a loan, tax avoided, completely legally. It's a con. It's a complete con. And yet anybody, we're being told, who's earning over £46,000 a year is in the top third of wealth in this country, and therefore they need to pay more. It's boneheaded. Just sort out the system. The system clearly isn't working. And if you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that is literally a sign of madness. And that is what this country does. It does the same things over and over and over, and then comes back to the taxpayer for more money. And if she does put income tax up, oh, it's only 2p in the pound on top of everything else you're paying. It'll be the first time that income tax has directly gone up in 50 years. And it won't just be income tax. It'll be everything else as well. We know it. Council tax, every tax, everything, road tax, VED duty, whatever that thing is now, fuel tax. It'll be absolutely everything. And not to mention all these other ways that they find of getting money out of us, like the licensing now for to rent your own property out. That's just some council, wet dream, isn't it? Oh, I know, let's invent another thing that we can get people to pay for. And then they charge it at £600, £900 for nothing, for literally nout. Oh, what's the next thing we can charge for? I know, walking on the cracks in the pavement. Oh, that's got to be bad for people. Yeah, that'll save the NHS money, because if you walk on a crack in the pavement, you could trip over and hurt yourself, and that'll save the NHS money. So why don't we fine people for that? That's what goes on. I'm sure that's what goes on at these meetings that they have. How can we take more money out of their pockets? How do we get more cash from people? It just feels like every time you leave the house, there's another reason to be worried that you might fall foul of some fine or something that you didn't even know existed until you get the fine through the post. It's all about taking our money. And I've had enough of it. Why can't they think of something different? Make it fairer. I just don't know how much longer this can go on. And using the example of Switzerland, great. But they get everything they pay for. I mean, the trains are so... You could lick the platforms in Switzerland. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but they're so clean. When I was in Switzerland, I was like, blimey, this is incredible. Yes, they pay a lot of tax, but they earn a lot of money, and they get what they pay for. The contract is broken between us and the government. We pay more and we get less. Just look at council tax. Just look at council tax. How many times has that gone up? And have your services changed? Have your services increased and improved? No. Why? Because it's all going to the pension schemes and the debts that councillors run up. That isn't our fault. But you know what? They make the mistake and we pay the bill. It's got to stop. I don't know how, but it's got to stop. So I'm asking you this morning, will you forgive Labour? Will you forgive Rachel Reeves if she raises your income tax? Like I said, be aware, it won't be the only tax that goes up. Do you think that that would make her a liar? Is that enough for you to sort of go, right, well, that's it with Labour. I'm never going to trust them again. Everybody who's a bit older knows that Labour's always been tax and spend. They always have been. Anybody who remembers the last Labour government really knows that. But the Tories weren't much better either. Let's be completely honest about it. So how much damage will this do Labour, do you think? And what are your thoughts about them coming back to us again after the last budget, when she said, no, this is a once in a parliament budget, when she smashed 40 billion out of people, just businesses trying to employ people, everybody else? Give me a call. I'd love to hear from you, because I've actually had enough. And it's no surprise to me at all that people are opting out of work. What's the point? What's the point? If you're only in work for money, what's the point? 0344 499 1000, and you can message me by putting the word talk and then your message to 87222. I want you to hear this from the horse's mouth. Not that I'm calling her a horse, it's just a saying. Rachel Reeves, earlier yesterday.
If we are to build the future of Britain together, we will all have to contribute to that effort. Each of us must do our bit for the security of our country and the brightness of its future.
Honestly, the security of our future and the brightness of our future. Are you absolutely having a laugh? Dear, oh dear, I don't trust a word any of them say. I give up. I completely give up. Let's go to the calls now. And Ty is in Worcestershire. Hello, Ty.
Hello.
Hello. What do you think of this? I'm not happy.
I just feel that the manifesto for Labour she lied on everything that was there. So shouldn't she be done for perjury?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, this is what I can't stand about these manifestos, is that they're not meant to just be suggestions, right? They're meant to be promises to the electorate. And yet at any moment, they can just tear them up.
Yes.
What damage do you think this will do Labour?
I just feel that reform will have so much, and advance will have so much more power, because she's lied on all of that manifesto. People wanted to choose Labour because that manifesto. Conservative have already said we're going to get rid of income tax, we're going to get rid of inheritance tax. They're showing us everything that's the most profound thing in their words. But we've been lied to. Every single one of these governments and all these people are hitting us so hard and lying. And I would just love someone like yourself, who has a very big following.
I wondered what you were going to say then.
You have a big following. You know.
My jeans are a size 10, I'll have you know.
Well, I'm going to the ID reform in Birmingham on Saturday.
But what makes you think that Reform will be the one government that hasn't lied to you?
I don't believe in any of them.
No, I don't either.
And I think we need to come up with a party that's united together. I think we need to come up with our own party, a unite party to come together. I think that's what we need, because I don't trust any of these government things that are there for us. They're not for us. They're not for us.
Farage isn't for us. You know, I mean, one of these things you said yesterday or the day before was that the minimum wage for young people is too high. It's £7.55 an hour.
Yes.
That's disgusting, says the man who's made something like 1.3 million in the last year.
Yes.
Right? It's not for us. They're not for us.
But also, for me, the 70 billion that's put aside for the welfare injuries, I feel that injuries tax has now become, people are on PPI or all these. There's a lot of a lot of injured people out there. And looking at that level as well, I can't go too more into that, but it's just like there's so many people with ADHD and living off the... I have clients who are earning so much money while their children are injured, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's no doubt about it that the 300 billion a year that we're spending on welfare budgets is not sustainable, right? It's just not. We've got 34% of the country, not including children, who are on some kind of benefit or other. And that doesn't mean they're not working, but it does mean that they're on some kind of benefit.
I love that. Yeah. Really grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, but it still means that why are working people having to get benefits? Well, they're having to get benefits because they're not paid enough. And they're not paid enough because companies, big supermarkets, big banks, all of those big companies, they don't pay the right wages. Why? Because they've floated on the stock market and they've got shareholders. So the taxpayer has to pay to top up the wages from these incredible...
Rachel Reeves knocked £22 billion off our thing today just for what she said. 22 billion was wiped off the stocks just today for what she said. Trump can say something and it can change cryptocurrencies or the whole global market in one day just from a tweet.
Yeah. Well, and actually nobody should have
22 billion off the stocks.
Yeah, nobody should have that much power anyway. But
yeah, look, I know that's really scary. Isn't it?
I just think that if companies that were pulling in billions and billions every year in profit, right, big supermarkets, they're not paying their staff properly. Why? Because they're allowed to get away with it, and then we have to top it up with tax credits. If they were just made to pay wages properly, that would take a huge burden off the taxpayer.
Love that.
So I don't see what's so difficult. I honestly, I look at the world through very simple lenses, right? And I just see what I think is an issue, and that is definitely an issue.
Yes.
Stop it. If you're a big company and you're making billions a quarter in profit, you can afford to pay your staff the proper living minimum wage. But they don't.
Yes.
Disgusting.
Yeah, but what worries me is the fact that the VAT threshold, Rachel Reeves is going to put it to 30,000, which is the 26,000 is the minimal, like our average wage in this country. Every one of us at 30,000 at VAT is going to be monopolised with what's going on now.
If she reduces the VAT, because at the moment, if you're a company, you don't have to start paying VAT until you're at, I think, 85 or 90,000 pounds.
It was 64,000, then it went down to 54,000, and now we're going down. And she wanted it 30,000.
And everybody will be thinking, well, if it's at 30,000, that's okay. I'm not a small business. But what it means is that every plumber
I love this. Go on.
Every plumber or electrician now will have to start charging 20% more on every job over £30. Or taking cash. Yeah. So that's why it's going to... This is what I'm saying, is that they're so sneaky. And she'll say, look, we're lowering the VAT, but the VAT threshold, so people have to start paying VAT beforehand. And people will go, well, I don't have a business, so it doesn't affect me, until they go to try and hire a painter decorator or a plumber or anything, and they discover that now it's 20% more expensive. So yes, it will affect every single one of us.
Love you, Petrie. Love that.
I've never had such a cheerleader before. I love that. That's great. Thank you. Ty, thank you very much indeed. First-time caller. That's how simple it is. That's just how easy it is. Pick up the phone and talk back. 03444 99 1000.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hello there, good morning. This is Talk and it is Petrie and this is Talk Back. It is your chance to have your say and give your view on the stories of the day. And oh, that rhymes. We are talking about Rachel Reeves. She said each of us must do our bit. We all have to contribute if we want to overhaul the country's economic health. Of course, that was fueling speculation of a break of the manifesto pledge not to raise income tax. It's likely that she's going to throw a 2 pence on the pound income tax. What the threshold will be, I don't know. She was not keen to answer any questions. She said that was to be left for the budget on the 26th of November. But 70% of people who have been polled said that if she did raise income tax, then she would be a liar, because she said and said and said again that she would not raise the big three. Now, should she have said that? Absolutely not. We all thought at the time, you're an idiot. That is a stupid promise to make. You can't make that promise. But she did make that promise, and a manifesto pledge is a promise. But they don't mean anything to politicians, do they? How many manifesto pledges have we seen being torn up just because they fancy doing it? So it's, for me, it's just so boring. It's so boring that these people have got nothing new to say apart from, we're going to need to ask you for more money. You're all going to have to do your bit. We're already doing our bit. And what do we get back for it? Absolutely flap all. Council tax is going to go up. Everything is going up. It's not just going to... If it was just income tax, maybe we'd go, well, at least that's honest, right? But she'll be on her feet for a long time just listing more and more things that are going to cost you more and more and more. So it's not just the income tax, it's everything else that they can get their grubby little hands on. And will they be affected by it? Probably not. It's just not fair. It's not right. It's just so, as I said, boring. Come up with something new, for goodness sake, and stop wasting our money. A couple of messages here before I go back to the phones. I respect your guest Stella's opinion, who was in about an hour ago. He said, however, I completely disagree with it. We are taxed more than ever, and it's the reason why some may think it's not worth working. This government is a joke. And it's true. So many people are opting out of work. Why? Ask yourself why. Because it's why. At what point? At what point do people go, it's not worth it? It's not worth it. It's not worth me getting up early, driving for 2 hours to get to work, putting myself through working with people I can't stand or whatever the reason is, and then going home miserable in the dark of night. It's not worth it. Got to be more to life than this, and paying this amount of tax to governments who just flush it down the toilet, you know. I mean, and even they can't even do that properly with the water companies, can they? Aaron says, Petrie, the government is taking us for mugs, throwing our money around everywhere, like you say, billions for an app. Wise up. The cost of an app to make is usually about 50,000. Why does the government app cost 35 billion? I mean, it was a little bit more to it, but it was just an app. And apparently the phones already had a very similar app on them for free, but they were also connected to track and trace, in fairness. But still, 35 billion was absolutely ridiculous. And there was a 25 billion. Do you remember the NHS computer system that was supposed to put all the accounts together, all, you know, all of our patient records in one place? That was a few years ago now, and they ended up chucking that on a skip. It just didn't work. It was just rubbish. they just 25 billion. So 25 billion here, 30 billion there, 35 billion there. How much has HS2 cost so far? Heaven knows. And that's still costing us money. Billions on infrastructure projects that never work. Billions on wasted. I mean, it's insanity. You don't have to have austerity to cut spending. You don't. We've got the most swollen civil service we've ever had. Look at councils playing roulette with council taxpayers' money. And then they're buying shopping malls and hotels. They've got no business involved in that. And then it's a shocker when it all goes pear-shaped and then they have to come back to us for more money. That's what annoys me. The whole post office thing. That's you and me paying compensation. And those people rightly deserve that compensation. I'm not saying they shouldn't get compensation, but why are we paying it? Why is the taxpayer paying that compensation? It's the same with the blood scandal. Nobody takes responsibility for anything, and everybody comes back to the taxpayer, like the water companies. They break the law, they break the rules, they flush sewage into our rivers and our seas at a disgusting rate. And then who has to pay to clean it up? We do. What happens to the money that they've saved? They pocket it. It's a scam. We are conned. We are so conned. Every time there's a major mess up, guess what I wanted to say there? Every time, who pays to clear it up? Not the companies involved, not the computing company that was involved in the post office thing, not the post office, not even parts of it that aren't taxpayer owned, not us. Not the councillors or the councils that mess up in investing in things they have no business investing in, and then it all goes pear and they come back. It's us every single time. How is that sustainable? How is that fair? And we don't stop to think about it because the news moves on so quickly all the time, on and on and on and on and on, and we get confused about it, and we don't stop. Honestly, it can't go on. We can't go on. Why are we so dumb? Anyway, this might help. This might help you. Do you want to win 100 grand? I do, but I can't enter. I'm not allowed. Then listen up. It's our biggest cash prize yet, and we're going all out. Like I said, it's £100,000 just before Christmas, completely tax-free. So Rachel Reeves can do one. It could be yours if you're the lucky winner who gets picked to come to London on the 13th of November this year for a chance to win. Just listen up.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word money to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 6th of November at 4 p.m. This is a TalkSport Limited promotion run on TalkSport, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hello there, good morning. It's Petrie here with you, and this is your chance to talk back. And got loads of messages coming through. Gary, you're a darling. Gary has sent a message saying, as of April 2025, the HS2 project has cost approximately £40.5 billion. What have we got to show for it? I'll let you guess. Richard said, I'm astonished to hear you say we get flap all from government. I thought you were going to tell me off. But anyway, he said, my late mother had fantastic care from NHS Wales in the last weeks of her life. Great show, as always. Well, that is the bare minimum we can expect, isn't it, for all the money that we pay? And I'm so glad that she got that. But that is what we pay for, right? And a lot of people don't get that. They don't get the good treatment that your mother did, and I'm so pleased that you did get that treatment for her, and I'm sorry that you lost her. But I think, you know, there's a point at which we have to say, come on, there's all this money that we're giving you, be better. Be better. We know there's waste in the NHS, we know there is, but will they ever fix it? Doesn't seem to be a case, does it? And Libby says, hi Poppet. I love being called Poppet. No one's called me Poppet for years. I hope you don't mind my asking, but how are you coping with your fibro? It's MS. But I didn't expect you to remember that. I'm struggling so much and just wanted to thank you for showing up and showing others that there's hope. In all honesty, it's been a bit rough recently, Libby. I'm not going to lie. It's been a bit of a trial, but coming to work does help. So you help me as much as hopefully I help you. So thank you very much for asking. That's very kind of you. Right, let's go to the calls now. And Phil is in Hull. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Petrie. How are you, love?
I'm all right. Thanks for waiting. I know you were sat there for a while.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
That's really kind of you. You lived in Basel, in Switzerland.
This is true. Yeah. So I was contracting on aircraft, and I had a year over in Basel. So yeah, I'm a bit aware of the system, obviously, that they had there. And I do find it really quite annoying when people sort of compare to a Swiss system or a Scandinavian system, because I don't think people realise what they would have to give up to have that system. It's a brilliant system. It works really well, such as if you were to be made unemployed, I think it's 70 or 80% of your wage you would receive for another up to 2 years after you came out of work.
It's similar in Germany. I think it scales down, doesn't it, over a period of time?
Yeah, I think it's a sliding scale down. I think if you've got dependents, if you've got children, I think it stays at a higher rate. So yeah, but obviously you're well. I mean, it was, don't get me wrong, Petrie. It was, Christ, I'm going to say 25 years ago when I worked there. I mean, even then it was. I think we used to pay £5 a pound, and I'm talking 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It was very expensive, but we earned good money while we was there, so it was all relevant.
Yeah, it's a very different system, and that does slightly annoy me, because if we had the Swiss system, there would be an expectation that we would pay more, but we would get more, and that's fine. What I feel about in this country is we pay more and we don't get more.
But here's a good example. Obviously, you know this better than most, because obviously I hear you passionately speak about Germany. A German road, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And if it closes, it's repaired and it's back open, and you'd never know about it.
In breakneck speed. There's none of this closing them down for days. Yeah.
You know, so you get what you pay for, don't you? So, yeah, if we was to compare that, if we was to pay that, that's fine. But then in return, we would want the results. And we know we're not going to get them. I mean, it's funny you should say about Switzerland, Petrie, because I always think of you as quite Switzerland on issues. I think you're very neutral. You've got a calm head, but tonight even you seem really animated.
Well, some things do wind me up, and I think that I speak for a lot of people over this issue of tax, because, you know, it affects us all. I mean, you know, people always think that radio or television people are on an enormous amount of money, and some people are. I can promise you that some people are, but the rest of us really are not. We're just pulling in an average wage, right? And so it affects me too. You know, any tax rise or any cost of living, you know, it's I haven't put my heating on this year. right?
Yeah.
So far, and I plan not to. And you know, I've got a little fan heater in one room, and I've just bought myself an electric blanket. It's the best thing I've ever bought in my life, and so that is what I use at night. So you know, it's not like I'm living some rich life. So I'm with you guys when it comes to things like the cost of living and all of those other things, and I know how frustrating it is.
But it is a conversation that funny enough, with a couple of young lads I worked with last night, we're having this conversation, and they're talking about the future. And they're saying, how does it pan out? So, and I said to them, and rightly or wrongly, I said, OK, we don't like the system we've got now. We didn't like the last lot we've just had for 14 years. So then we have to pin all our hopes on Farage. I don't think that's going to be the answer either,
No.
Petrie. So then, once that's failed, where does that leave us?
Well, that is the $6 million question, isn't it? Where do we go as a society if we don't have any faith in politics? And we don't.
But do you think Farage realises that burden, that weight of expectation on his shoulders? Should he get this wrong? I mean, he's already, I think, now doing a bit of a Michael Jackson moonwalk out of it.
Yeah. That's so funny. I'd pay money to see. I'd pay money to see Farage do a moon dance.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah.
But no, you're right. I think that actually, with him going back on all these huge tax breaks that he was talking about, you know, he's now gone, oh crikey, yeah. No, I can't just say what I think people want to hear. I will have to actually deliver. And I think he's going to find that very difficult. And then we hear him saying things like young people's wages are too high at £7.55 an hour. How can he say that? It's out of touch. It's so yeah, where do we go when we've lost all faith in all of them? I don't know what happens.
Well, I like you, Petrie. I've got my daughter's 20. She works at View Cinema in between going to. She's at university, and she tops like a meagre income up with working at the cinema. And the banker dad makes frequent withdrawals, and it never makes any deposits. I'll be honest with you. You know, so yeah. So giving her less money ain't going to do her any good, is it? I mean, she don't exactly have a lavish lifestyle as it is. Believe me, not.
Exactly that. Exactly that. I mean, I just think, how dare he say that when he's absolutely as rich as Croesus, right? He's made 1.3 million or something in the last year from all of his jobs and businesses. And he was a stockbroker. I mean, what would he know about surviving on £7.55 an hour?
I see it more bigger than that. What do they know about me? Or I'm currently talking to you. I'm working night shift in a factory. He would have no idea what this environment is.
No.
I don't even think he realises it exists, as stupid as that might sound.
No, I agree with you. I don't think any of them do.
No,
you know, I don't think they have a clue. They don't have a clue.
Well, Keir did. I mean, his dad was a toolmaker.
And Sadiq Khan, whose dad was a bus driver. I didn't know if you knew that. It slipped my mind, but yeah, I think he has mentioned it once. Yeah. What are we going to do, Phil?
All I can say is, I mean, I'm nearly 50 now. I'm literally, I'm what you might call a cat's cock hair off 50. So I think I've got away with it. But yeah, my kids are in the mid-20s, mid and early 20s. Yeah, I think I fear for them.
I do too, and I don't blame them for any kid for opting out of work either, because they'll be paying into something that they will never see, and that is the pension through the national insurance. They will never ever get to retire. They will never see it. They will not be able to afford to buy a house. They will not be able to afford to have the family that they might want to have.
Well, you can see what's happened there, can't you? I already know my laddie. The minute he come out of his time, he was an apprentice maintenance mechanic. As soon as he got his time, he's been opted straight. He didn't have the option. He went straight into company pension. Obviously, that
you can opt out.
Now you've got to do that, haven't you?
No,
he can opt out. But what is it?
Yeah.
That then gives them a green light in the future to say, well, there is no state pension because you were supposedly in a pension from the day that you came out your time, weren't you? Whereas,
honestly, I feel so sorry for them. I really do. There's nothing. What are they going to get? We've had the best of it, really. You know, property, being able to buy property.
Yeah, we should keep that between ourselves. Don't go telling that to your children. I mean, yeah.
It's all right. Nobody heard. Nobody heard. We're safe. Okay. We're safe, Phil. Right. They'll be asleep now anyway, won't they? I mean, let's face it.
Yeah. No, in fact, my lad. Yeah. He will be about now. So yeah.
Oh, Phil.
It's nice to make you smile anyway, because you're not nearly as animated as a virgin tonight. And, I was feeling your pain.
Oh, bless you. I really enjoyed that conversation. So please call again, won't you?
I will do, OK. You look after yourself, love.
And you, Phil. Oh, lovely guy. Right, loads of messages coming through. Steve has said tax increases in the middle of a cost of living crisis will lead to a major recession with less disposable income. More companies will go under, fewer jobs and fewer paying tax, leading to further tax increases. Yes. Exactly that sort of doom cycle that we are on. And Rachel Reeves has to take her fair share of the blame for that because she is crushing people's ability to hire people. But she won't take any responsibility. What am I talking about? Neil says not everyone is contributing, and those that aren't, with the exception of pensioners, are not going to be worse off. That's true. That is true. They won't be worse off. So this is a good idea, I think. Cole has said, just thinking outside the box, can't this rubbish government take a 2-year kind of mortgage break where we stop foreign aid, net stupid zero and any other pointless grants? And I would add to that pointless spending. So if we took a 2-year hiatus and just said, right, from this point on, we're freezing all of that, but we will get back to it when we can afford to. And he said that could save billions and put us back on track. Then when we can start contributing again. I think that doesn't sound like a bad idea. We could expand on that idea, but I think that doesn't sound like a bad idea, really. So Cole, thank you very much indeed for that. Right, I'm going to take a very quick break, but when I come back, we'll go back to the calls.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hello, good morning. This is Talk, and it is Petrie here with you until the top of the hour, and this is your opportunity to talk back, and you have been. Let me have a look at this. Why is a computer scan right in the middle of the programme? Go away. Right. Ray says, I have paid all my years of tax and national insurance. I was made redundant 2 years ago, age 61, now living on my pension. I never had the money years ago to put into ISAs. Every time tax goes up, my pension is worth less. I don't pay national insurance and I do not get inflation rises. So working 40 years, I'm getting less and less every year. Also getting taxed on savings. I live in Liverpool. Whatever happened to the levelling up policy of the last government? Wasn't that Michael Gove? Wasn't he levelling up minister? I think that answers the question. Anyway, and Joanna has said, because I mentioned that this Labour government think that 46,000 is makes you wealthy, and Joanna says 46 grand depends on where you live. It's more than 3 times what I live on, but in big cities like London, it's a pittance. Yeah, when you consider that 24,000 of that will be rent, and that 46 is before tax. So yeah, so 24 of that will be potentially is your rent. So, yeah, more than half of your money, and then you've got to be taxed on that money, and then you've got to pay your council tax and all your bills as well. So, yeah, it doesn't make you wealthy, not in London. Joanna goes on to say, I object to my bit. Through wages, everything will increase in price. I certainly can't afford to drown my sorrows with alcohol. Rachel Reeves just got pulled up for not paying her £900 licence on her rental property and not paying her bit. Quite right. Angela Rayner didn't pay her bit either, and that's just the 2 that we know about. Almost every politician scrapes every penny they can out of the public purse. Maybe that's a good place to start. I don't see them tightening their belts. Very good point, Joanna. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Kevin now, who's in Hull. Hello, Kevin. How are you?
Good morning, Petrie. How are you?
Good morning. I am very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just watched the programme. Of course, I had to turn it off to talk to you.
Sorry.
Your top, I've got a throw over of the same colour and texture, so I'm going to wrap myself up in it tonight and think of you. Okay.
You old smoothie. Go on.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, there's 2 things. Although she had makeup on this morning doing the speech, it looked like she saw a ghost.
She looked very pale, didn't she? She looked scared.
Pale.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about was me and the missus. Fortunately for me, she works nights. Well, can I say Tesco's or not?
You already have.
Right, sorry. So I went to our local Tesco. It's a late night thing. It's a small place.
Right.
And she likes to smoke, and why not?
It's a free country.
Yeah. And they put it up now by either 42 or 47 pence a packet.
How much are cigarettes now? I have no idea.
Well, hers was £14 something, but now it's well over 15.
15 quid for a pack of fags?
Yeah. I remember going to school. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And they used to sell them sing to her for like 2p or whatever. Yeah, but I was saying to the wife on the way home, hang on, they've increased the cigarette by a minimum of 42 pence a packet, and it hasn't even come out what the increases are.
Oh my God! So that's got nothing to do with the budget, which will throw them up some more.
Well, that's it. The thing is...
And they'll say it's to make you stop smoking and it's good for your health, but actually they don't want... Nobody really wants you to stop smoking because you pay billions in tax every year.
Oh, well, yes, lots of billions. And the thing is that at the end of the day, our corner shop will sell cigarettes with the prices on them. They're printed on the packet.
Right.
But your Tesco's and whatnot, I mean, I can understand that, it's a 24-hour service.
Yeah, they
station.
do charge more, don't they, for those smaller
They charge a fair
Tesco's?
bit more.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll charge an extra £1.
But is there
now
any
they put it-
point? Is there any point, Kevin, at which you'll go, they're too expensive now? Or, I mean, I used to be a smoker. I absolutely loved it. I don't recommend it, obviously, but I'm glad I don't do it anymore, just for the cost.
Yes.
But there was never a point that I thought I didn't stop smoking because of the price. I would have kept going. I would have kept going. Yeah. And you will as well, will you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is, all that's going to improve is under-counter cigarettes and vapes and whatnot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they said, we're monitoring shops for illegal vapes. Well, they haven't got the resources to do it.
No, they really haven't. And you're right. It just creates a bigger black market. But the other thing is, I read this wonderful book called Freakonomics, and it's about twisting economics, and it was talking about how governments love smokers for two reasons. One,
they paid for the NHS.
One, you pay a fat load of tax, and two, you don't live as long as non-smokers, so you don't use as much of the NHS and you don't use as much in your pension.
Yes.
So you're a hero, Kevin. We should give you a medal.
Well, the thing is, I think me and the wife together, without drinking and smoking, have paid more tax over the 59 years than whatever. But the thing is, the thing is with government, I don't understand is, we pay car tax, right? And car tax goes to improve the roads.
Used to.
Right. What I would like to know a government to stand up and say what income they get off car tax and what percentage actually goes back on the road.
Yeah, when it was road tax, it was to be spent on the roads. They then changed it because they wanted it to go into the general pot, and so they called it VED, Vehicle Excise Duty. It is still road tax, but when it was called road tax, it was ring-fenced, so all the money that was gathered by that taxation was spent on the roads. Now they don't do that, they just throw it into the pot or into the big black hole now, and it's spent on everything but roads. Yeah. So that's why they changed the name of it, so they didn't have to do that. I mean,
I've learned something tonight.
Well, look, I mean, the thing is that we're taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed, and even when we die, we're taxed. So, there's no getting out of it, I don't think.
I think the thing is, you're absolutely right, Petrie. I think if the government could tax you on sunshine and tax you on rain for the reservoirs, they would.
Absolutely, and they'd say it was for our own good. And that's what Reeves is going to say on the 26th. Oh, this is going to improve all your lives. We've all got to pay our bit. We've all been paying our bit, more than our bit, right? And it's enough now. I've had enough. Because they just keep coming back more and more and more for more and more money, and they've got no new ideas. Listen, just before we close up, there's now only one place to listen and watch Talk on your phone. Everything is moving now to the Talk app, away from the talkTV app. That will be closed. So the talkTV app will be closing down, I think, on December the 1st. But if you go to wherever you get your apps from and download the Talk app, just Talk app, then you will be able to continue watching or listening to Talk. Right, so make sure you do that. Very quickly, I'm going to speak to Luke. Luke, we haven't got a lot of time, but tell me about what you think about what's coming out of the budget.
Oh, yeah, I think it's stupid because I'm got disability, I've got mental health, so I can't work because Job Centre says so, and they've put me on benefits. And what really puts me off is they go, oh, each year we put out the benefits. What's the use of putting benefits up? Because as soon as they put the benefits up, they put the prices up. So you don't see much of that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is the thing, that every time that they try and say they're doing us a favour, it just pushes prices up further, creates higher inflation, which means that we can't pay back our debt, which means they have to come back to us for more tax.
I know.
And round, and round, and
I hear
round.
a lot of people getting shitty and pissed off with that as well.
Yeah, a lot of people are getting fed up with all of this, and if it makes you feel any better, they've already said that they were going to go for PIP, but they couldn't go for PIP in the end. That was $5 billion.
Oh, good, because I'm on PIP, so
yeah.
I'm not.
But I mean, just who knows? Who knows where they're going to go next and what they're going to do next? But I hope you're going to be okay.
Watch that corner.
Yeah, just watch out. Watch out. We're all in trouble. So Rachel Reeves, I just wonder if she will survive this. Politically speaking, I doubt it. I think she and Keir will both be gone by spring of next year. That's where, if I had any money left. Oh, and they might be putting tax on betting as well, so I can't even bet. Can't even bet anymore. Can't even place a bet with you. But if I had any money, that's where I would put it. I'd put it on the fact that those two will be gone, because, as I've said many, many times before,